Let's go. Welcome again, everyone, to the Connolly Station, Chicago, the station through which I'm doing family history, family exploration of being Irish, Irish-American, the path my grandparents took to become American citizens, and family history. So tonight, for episode 3, my feature, the star of the show, if you will, is my Irish-born, Galway-born grandma, Mary Connolly, who then became Mary Connolly. Again, from episode 2, we took a look at some birth certificate and official U.S. citizenship papers. She's born in 1905 in Galway. Her father's name Patrick. Her mother's name was Mary. She came to the U.S. on the boat, of course, at the time. And I'll show a picture of that in just a minute. If we have any viewers from Galway or from Boston, and you think you recognize your own grandmother in the picture we're about to look at in a second, then please do go in the comments. So December 6, 1934 is when my grandmother becomes an official U.S. citizen. Again, noting right here, for race, the not the documentarian, but the clerk, I should say, did not type in the word Irish right there. I would have preferred had that been typed in, but that's going on 100 years out of my control for that to have been the case. So I want to speak a little bit on my grandmother's path and her journey, as I had just mentioned. She left the boat from Galway, and it's a little hard to see the faces. So let me try to turn this other miniature light on here and try to adjust for glare. Maybe I'd do well to get a photo reproduction on this very photo and try to enhance the imagery. But here she is with her pals that she either made in Galway or that she just got to meet these other young ladies on the boat. And the majority of them stopped off in Boston. That was one of her famous stories, or often repeated stories. It still felt like a party, or she still felt like she was in Ireland up until the point where her newly acquired pals stopped off in Boston and she continued on to Chicago by train. There is a possibility, as I was just discussing with my one cousin, that it was supposed to have been her sister who came over instead of her. So that's speculation. We can neither confirm nor deny that at this time, but that's part of the purpose of this channel, and part of the purpose of the continuing conversation is to explore that which we don't know. So, okay, here we go. We're talking 1927, Kathleen Brown, Mary McDonough, Grandma in the middle, Sarah Carthers, and the English girl and the New York girl. So I'm laughing. I didn't have their names. She didn't have all of their names. So that's just priceless. Maybe this would be something good to do. And I don't mean to give away McDonough grandma or Kathleen Brown grandma here after the fact. But right there, April 1927. So a real important month and a real important year in our family's history. Again, of that same time, this, if we look in the corner here, says Spanish Arch Galway, and clearly that's not her same handwriting there. So if we'll flip this over for a second and then flip back, says here clearly the Spanish Arch. And so I'm figuring she got this as a postcard souvenir for herself. Again, at that time, not having the internet or other such resources had yet to be invented. TV had yet to be invented. So right up in this corner area here is what I'm trying to say, is the Spanish Arch, which is a very significant piece of architecture, a very significant archway within Galway. So she spoke often of the Spanish Arch. She spoke often of a few things about being right here by the bay. Her, in her younger years, and her pals, or her by herself, would play around, and they'd catch a snail and they'd say to the snail, tie a bow knot and it'll let you go. So what their little game with the snails was that the snail would then squirm around, I should say, in their hand. Then they'd put the snail back at the shore or back in the beach. Some other key phrases, some key words of wisdom from Grandma also included: patience and a slow fire will boil a bull. And boy, oh boy, that's a lesson I need to continue to learn every day. As far as the local mythology, I don't want to say even tall tales, but let me just say folk tales that came from the Galway Bay. She would speak of the ghost of boughs. So best as we can tell, again, if I had been a wiser kid and taken better notes, or taken any kind of a notes, that is to say, maybe the ghost of boughs was just the wind whistling in the trees. Maybe the ghost of boughs was similar to a banshee crying and wailing. Again, if there's anybody who's viewing from actual Ireland or from actual Galway who would have any information on that, it would be so appreciated into the comment section. That would be so great if I could deepen my understanding and increase my knowledge base on the ghost of boughs. Now, there was also the other companion story to the ghost of boughs was the sack-em-ups, and that could have been possibly just the generic boogeyman of the Galway Bay, if you will, or it could have been the sack-em-ups was something more tied to actual political circumstance or colonizers coming around and imposing their will on the villagers, on the residents of the Galway area. So from 1927 up to including, if I can zero in right here, August of 1973, Grandma had not been back to Galway. So here is I should have had the pointer ready, but over here on the right is Grandma, and on the left is her sister Bridget, and no surprise, they're standing in front of the Spanish Arch at Galway Bay. And when I finally saw the Spanish Arch myself, I was surprised at the size and the scale of it. But by that, I mean the way she spoke of it, it might have well have been the size of the Sears Tower, or it was a thing of legend. And again, I regret that I was not in Ireland at the same time my dad was. I regret also that I was not in Ireland at the same time my grandma was. So those regrets being noteworthy, this is the next best thing, is to revisit and review. And again, just her in her writing, Spanish Arch, Galway. One more photo from that same trip of August 73. This is the Ballybrit Racecourse, and some time ago, when I was having social media conversations with those still in Ireland, people were kind enough to map it out to me and explain to me that this is the Ballybrit Racecourse. So again, a little piece here, a little piece there. Do I try to increase on my knowledge base? So this is at the Galway races. So if you're a viewer in Ireland, I don't have to tell you the Galway races. The races are a real big deal. And if you're an Irish American or not an Irish American that knows or doesn't know, let me say that's just a real. I'm real pleased that she was able to have that experience of going to the races after having not been able to, or not, taking the chance to go back to the old country from 1927 all the way to 1973. A little bit of a heartbreaker or a crestfallen kind of a moment is, when she'd write letters back while she was there, and also as she'd tell the story, she was so used to the horses and carriages that right like anything, it's a Rip Van Winkle story, it's a you can never go home again story, that once she returned, and so much had changed, right? From the entirety of the 30s, the entirety of the 40s, the entirety of the 50s, the entirety of the 60s, and throw a couple of years of the 70s and a couple of years of the 20s in there to boot. And of course, any place is going to change so greatly over that time. So she missed the having the home that she left. she missed being able to go home again in the same way she left it in her heart. So there's definitely more photos in this book, and there's more grandma stories to come to the future. But the other thing I want to comment on, I started to think of what else can I say? How can I convey the importance of this woman, this my grandmother? How can I convey the importance of her? So I started to think, just my concept as we got the Chicago map in the background here. So as a Chicago-raised person, as a person who spent my whole life in Chicago, I want to say that I definitely have an understanding of what it is to be a Chicagoan. I have an understanding of what it is to be an American with Irish ancestry. But just even the concept, that which is Irish, or my understanding of Irishness, where did I get my ideas about Ireland, about Irish people, about the existence of that which is Irish, the construct, that's the word I was trying to find, the construct of, the social construct of what is it to be Irish. And sure enough, part of that definitely comes from my dad. My dad was born in Chicago, and he grew up with a proper Chicago accent, though he did say the letter H like an Irish person would. He says H, or he used to say H, so there's that. But I'm saying my whole concept, that which is Irish, starts from this woman, Mary Connolly, turned Mary Connolly, my grandmother. So all that which I've done in my life thereafter to explore, to approach, to try to better understand Irishness or Irish ways or being Irish, she had the Irish-born accent, which my dad didn't have. She would say ye, and she had so many wonderful, colorful phrases, as I've just, and stories, as I've alluded to, with the sack 'em ups and the ghost of bows and the patience in a slow fire. And so anything that I've done in my life thereafter, any stop I've made at the Irish shops, any time I've picked up an Irish lamp or an Irish coffee mug, any time that I've listened to the Chieftains or the Dubliners or to the Clancy's and the Makems, or even a U2 and Van Morrison or Thin Lizzy, or anybody thereafter. All of that, my trying to follow the Galway United soccer squad, all of that, all the point of origin comes from having this amazing Irish grandma that I had. And I just wanted to, again, continue to explore family history and continue to have a kind word about a kind lady. And I will be coming up with future episodes that I'll just speak a bit briefly on now. Just the other day, and Happy New Year. Let me say that on my way out. We're recording here January 1, 2023. So if you're viewing close in time to the date of recording, Happy New Year to everybody. And just yesterday, December 31, 2022, was the last day of the Donegal Imports store. Alex, after being an Irish import shop for many years, decided to hang it up and retire. So Alex, you'll be missed, and my stops in your store. Well, I'll speak on that more in the future episode, is what I'm trying to say. Let me not get long-winded about that now. Also, the Irish shop in Oak Park, Illinois, has just closed. So that's two back-to-back giants of Irish American culture right here that will be sorely missed around town. Not that long ago, Harrington's still exists, but the physical store of Harrington's that was just down the street, they closed up shop, and I'm figuring that was COVID and pandemic related. So I'll be commenting more on Irish shops and Irish institutions around Chicago coming up in future episodes. I do thank everybody who has watched the previous and who's watching the current episodes. Again, if by happenstance that's one of your grandmas on the boat there, and you're from Boston, please do comment in. That would be really funny. That would be really great. This has been episode 3 of Connolly Station, Chicago. Thanks so much, and that's all for now.